yeah, we got a video to watch. Very good. All right, so 3 connective tissue disorders I want to talk about, and then we'll review the stuff for the test. All right, first one is Marfan syndrome. The extreme skinniness that the thin man in Freaks had makes me think Marfan syndrome, but it's not necessarily. He would have to have Marfan syndrome and starve himself like crazy. But the long, spindly arms and spider-like fingers, arachnodactyly, have to do with Marfan syndrome. This is a defect of connective tissue that's characterized by faulty scaffolding. So the connective tissue forms appropriately, but the connections between the tissues, the connections between the cells are what becomes a problem. And so they think it's a genetic defect of fibrillin, which makes the microfibers. And these people, like I said, have a very distinct look. They're tall and thin. With arachnodactyly. And you can look at that word. Right? Yeah. Look at that word, arachnospider, dactyl fingers. And so you get these long, skinny, spider-like fingers. A lot of medical historians think that Abraham Lincoln might have had Marfan syndrome, and it actually might have contributed to his death, because you're a little bit more likely to bleed out. The most common dangerous pathology with Marfan syndrome is a dissecting aneurysm of the aorta. All right, so what is the aorta? What is the aorta? The major blood vessel of the body. Okay, it's blood leaving the heart, going out to the body. Super thick, strong blood vessel, because they have to take all of the body's blood pressure. All of the pressure for your whole body is right there in that one vessel, so you cannot afford to have it compromised in any way. So what a dissecting aneurysm is really, really rough sounding, but the aorta just kind of unzips and opens up, and death comes pretty quickly after that. There's not much you can do to get to that to save someone. And like I said, some people think that Abraham Lincoln actually might have died because of his more likely to survive bleeding, or less likely to survive bleeding out due to his Marfan syndrome. Again, that's complete speculation, because you'd have to really see his genetics to be able to say that. But definitely, you see this. Another thing that happens is mitral valve prolapse. Mitral valve in your heart, and the valve actually can swing backwards and become compromised in people with Marfan syndrome because of their crappy connective tissue connections. All right, that is a genetic disorder. So inherited disorder, as is this next one. The next one we'll talk about is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is abnormalities of collagen and elastin fibers. So Marfan syndrome is, there's nothing wrong with your connective tissue. It's the connections between the connective tissue. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is the connective tissue just doesn't form appropriately. And this is also an inherited trait, and it is characterized by hypermobility and dermal hyperelasticity. So hypermobility is exactly what it sounds like. Take your fingers, move them in areas, ways that you shouldn't. Dermal hyperelasticity is being able to pull on your skin and pull it way out. These people, there's people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome can do things with their body that other people can't, but it definitely can be very painful as well. They could just be, you know, walking around and their hip dislocate, or writing and their shoulder dislocate. Be very painful, very uncomfortable way to live their life. And they also have to be aware that they can become injured very easily because of their stretchy connective tissue. But the test is the thumb, and you know, it's flat against your arm, or the fingers as well. If you can pull your fingers flat the opposite way against your metacarpals, you're talking about some Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, possibly. You also see the Guinness Book of World Records every once in a while, dude that can pull his skin out, like from his neck. That's dermal hyperelasticity, stretchy skin. If you want to see something really cool about this, and I'll check it out real quick and see. Actually, I already have the website up here. Don't know if they're streaming anywhere, but there's a movie called The Last Exorcism from 2010. It's 10 years ago. I usually don't go. It's on Max Go if you have the Max Go app. But it is it actually might be a try when we get off the Zoom today and see if I can show it. But it is a horror movie that's filmed in kind of a documentary style, where this guy's going on his last exorcism, and it turns out it actually is a demon or whatever. But it looks really neat. It's a neat little movie. I usually don't like horror movies, but I dig this one. The main character, who is the supposed demon enchanted young lady, actually has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so there's a scene where the demon takes over her body and says, I'm gonna count to 10, and if you don't stop talking, and she breaks her fingers, the kid's fingers, but like the kid has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so it doesn't hurt. It's not hurting really as bad. There's a neat little thing, and she can bend herself all backwards, and it makes her look demon thing. That movie's called The Last Exorcism. It's pretty good. They made a sequel. The sequel's terrible. Don't watch the sequel. Yeah, fair enough. So we got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. The last connective tissue disorder I want to talk about is osteogenesis imperfecta. And you can probably look at the name of that pathology and tell what's going on. Imperfecta, obviously something's not working right, something's not perfect. Osteo, bone, genesis, the beginning of it. So creation of bone is imperfect. And so another way that osteogenesis imperfecta is called is brittle bone disease.
Is that similar to osteoporosis, except the opposite? So instead of breaking down, it's created broken down?
Sort of. I could buy that, and way worse. Like osteoporosis can get bad eventually. Osteogenesis imperfecta is not compatible with normal life, because what happens is the child is born with this. This is another gene mutation. All three of my things are usually gene mutations. So I know I usually try to mix it up. Hey, McKenzie. But osteogenesis imperfecta is a genetic disorder where the connective tissue is not built appropriately in osseous tissue. And so it's super easy to break bones with just the smallest bit of trauma. It usually presents with a 1 or 2 year old showing up at the emergency room with a broken bone. They do a x-ray and find 7 broken bones. So what's the ER doctor's first thought? Usually not osteogenesis imperfecta because that's pretty rare. What's your thought? Your ER doc.
Well, if it's a
Maybe.
1-2-year-old, probably abused.
Exactly. And so a lot of times this is kind of a sad situation because the first thing that doctors are going to think is, you've been hurting this child. So they have to actually do a genetic test to test for osteogenesis imperfecta. When that comes back, then obviously they can, say, no, it's not your fault. It's just that your child has this disorder. A lot of times, depending on how extreme the disorder is, it may not be compatible with life at all because the skeletal structure may not be able to hold up the body against the weight, and you may not be able to breathe and die of respiratory failure. Sad situation, but something that happens. There are movie characters based off this. The most famous one is Glass from the M. Night Shyamalan movies. They call me Mr. Glass, that whole thing about breaking bones. There's no movie called Amelie with a character with osteogenesis imperfecta in it. But yeah, brittle bone disease, pretty straightforward deal. It's another way it's often accompanied by blue sclera because the whites of your eyes are translucent rather than white. And so you end up seeing the underlying venous blood, which is kind of blue. That is your pathology. Couple things about the test tomorrow. I've got multiple choice questions that deal with the pathology. I got multiple choice questions that deal with connective tissue and epithelium and what they are, the different fibers that make up connective tissue, the different types of connective tissue and what they do. The cartilage for your external ear is what? What type of cartilage makes up your external ear? It stretches, but it bounces back. Yeah, elastic cartilage. Understand your different epitheliums. Transitional epithelium, or the only place in your body you find it. Speak up, James and Mackenzie, if you want to. Only place in your body you find transitional epithelium.
Bladder.
Yeah, your bladder changes because it needs to stretch, needs to account for that space. Understand different types, like I said, different types of connective tissue. What type of connective tissue do we use for protection, insulation, and nutrient storage? I store a lot more nutrients than you. Come on, Brandon. When the hard times come, why are you going to die before me? Ryan, why are you going to die before me when the hard times come? No, I've already stored as much. I've already stored more than you.
Do you want is there a specific word or is it?
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get there.
Body fat.
Give me a better word for fat.
Lipids.
Well, less specific. What type of tissue? What type of connective tissue? Adipose tissue. Adipose tissue. Understand all the things that classified as connective tissue. The weirdest one is blood. Blood is classified as connective tissue because it comes from mesenchyme. We talked about hyaline cartilage, making up embryonic skeleton. Understand your different parts of your skin, different cells of your skin. What cells in your skin make up skin color? Well, the skin that you dwell in must contain melanin. Melanocytes and keratinocytes are the ones that make up the hardness. What we call the little muscles that stand your hair up. I didn't watch the videos last week, I can tell.
Rector Pilly.
Yeah. Rector pili muscles, Pilly if you want to be Jane.
Can we come in person for
We'll talk about it. Know your different glands, normal sweat glands or eccrine sweat glands, your armpits and anogenital regions are sebaceous glands. I'm sorry, apocrine glands, and your oily hair is your sebaceous gland. Layers of your epidermis, multiple choice, so just be able to recognize when you see the layers out of order. Why do people with albinism have red skin or pink skin?
They don't have,
Isn't it they don't have melanin or something?
That's why they don't have dark colored skin, but why do they have a pink tint to their skin? Exorcisms up here, it's not blocked. Oh yeah, we're totally watching that.
Because the lack of melanin allows you to see the blood rush up faster and more easier.
Very good. The hemoglobin from your blood is what gives you the red or pink tint. We just talked about, make sure you know the things we just talked about. Somebody shows up to emergency room and their lips and nail beds are blue. What do you call it? What do you think?
sinus,
Cyanosis. What's going on?
not enough oxygen in the blood.
Not enough oxygen in their blood. Excellent. The big chunk, there's no essay tomorrow. The big chunk is I'm going to give you a type of epithelium, and you need to be able to I'm not sure whether I'm going to ask you to draw it or explain what it looks like because it's on the internet, but in some way, for example, simple squamous, you would tell me is one layer thick, squished flat cells. And on normal tests, I'd ask you to draw it, but I might not be able to tomorrow. So I might say either explain or draw depending on where you are or whether or not you want to get fancy. And then tell me an example of where you would find it. So make sure for each different type of epithelium, you can explain what the cells look like and you can tell me where you find it in the body. Rolling on. Good to see you, Kaya.
Hello.
And then the last thing I have is labeling a skin model. I'll put it up on the camera. Actually, I'll put it on the camera so everybody can see it. It might be too big. So labeling the skin model. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so let me walk around there so I can reach. Things I'm going to ask you to label. That look good? Need to be able to label the eccrine sweat gland, which is this guy. Epidermis, which is the blue curvy line and up, versus the dermis, which is everything else. So epidermis, dermis, eccrine sweat gland, sebaceous gland, which is attached to your hairs. Terminal nerve ending, you can either give me the Pacinian corpuscle or the Meissner's corpuscle. I'm not going to ask you those. That's for that was old stuff. So the nerves, it's really all I'm asking, nerve, and the erector pili muscle. All right, can we go through that again? Eccrine gland, epidermis, dermis, nerves, sebaceous gland, erector pili muscle. All right, I have that. You're going to have to match the things like you did on the labeling on the first test to the picture. That's pretty much it, guys. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm double jointed in both my thumbs, my right pinky, and my shoulder region. So would that mean I have like some traits of that syndrome you were talking about?
Probably not. I would need to see it a little bit more than like the phrase double jointed gets misused because
Or I'm hypermobile.
yeah. And so I would need to see your hypermobility. And like, is it attributed to, flexibility from practice, or is it attributed to something going on with pathology? I'm not really sure. Any injuries or pain?
No, but my mom, she can bend her thumb back too. So I think I might have got it from her.
Yeah, so it might be like just an alternative strategy for ligament building, I guess, because you probably I've never noticed that you have any other, you don't have any skin elasticity or anything, do you?
No.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that more next week, but probably just an inherited difference in your flexibility.
Okay, that makes sense.
Any others? All right, guys, test tomorrow. I'll put it up on the internet probably when I get to school tomorrow morning, probably about 8 o'clock or so. Take your time, make sure that you answer the questions to the best of your ability, and we'll get started with, what did I say was next? I can't remember. I think I put it up. Cardiovascular system on Thursday. I got to try to figure out a way that there's a movie I really love showing for the cardiovascular system that I got to try to figure out a way to show you guys. So might work on that. I might give everybody my HBO Max password. That's probably a dumb idea, but I'll figure it out. All right, y'all have a great day.
Okay, so what's gonna be the deal with coming in person? We have to fill out like an application at the front